Good morning, folks. Well, once again, on a foggy, overcast, though awfully mild at 17 degrees, the first week of November, I kid you not, in the Emerald Isle, here on high peaks, 17 degrees. So the weather has certainly gone bananas. But I'm going to go walking high slopes today, make hay while the sun shines. There's no hay and there's no sun, but I'm on the move anyway. So I invite you along with me and see what we encounter along my way for the next few hours. But as I say, it's awfully mild. The jackets and stuff are in the backpack, as is the lunch. So I'm beginning my trek and it's quite early. So again, I've got the countryside to myself. So tag along with me and let's see what we find and encounter along the way. Now for the first 25-30 minutes or so, the track can be quite rough. It's been restored to some sort of level of respectability here, and it was terrible up to recently, but at the moment it looks fine. Now eventually I come to the first gate. Please be aware that you open to get through, but please ensure you close all the gates here. Lots of livestock here on these mountains. Now, if you can look there to the horizon, you can see a slowly drifting fog. Now, along this portion of this track, even though it's uphill, it's pretty easy to walk on. We get up a little bit further here, it becomes quite obnoxious, stones and gullies and flowing water, etc. But I'm prepared for that. The leaves are falling. Autumn is here and amongst us. The autumnal colours are pretty vivid on the floor. Now, as I said to you all there at the start of my trek, enjoying 17 degrees at the tail end of the first week of November is weird and wacky. It's been awfully mild for the past week, no rain whatsoever. So our climate is certainly doing some sort of a special act. But it's great for us walkers. Great. It prolongs our long distance walking further into the tail end of the year and right up to Christmas. Well, folks, I appreciate you tagging along with me at this hour of the morning. I don't see any sign of another human being on these hills at this hour, but it's quite early as yet. Now I'm approaching very, very rough terrain. So when you go walking in places like these, make sure you got good footwear, good support, because for the next hour plus it's going to be pretty hectic on the foot and quite slippy. There's a sort of brightness coming there on the landscape over County Waterford. We might even be lucky enough to get some sunshine. Wouldn't that be something else? As you can see here, it's quite an arduous task coming up here. Stones are quite wet on the surface and they roll when you put your foot on them. It's sort of a mini devil's ladder as you traverse this particular part of the pathway. But this is what it's all about. Giving the old cardiovascular system a good shake up and workout early in the morning. Once again, I feel like I'm the only human being left in the world. I love it. And then I come to the second gate. And again, as I said to you all before, heed the warning, because reason being, many sheep. Good morning, sir. My apologies for breaking the silence and entering your domain. Now, folks, standing here on a sort of a lofty perch with the panoramic of drifting fog and high mountains behind me, the atmospherics are really splendid. There's a sense of peace and quietness up here again today, and it is so embracing and so invigorating and so peaceful and so calming. Yes, I love the wilderness, and here this morning I'm actually in a true wilderness. I'm just wondering how the farmers or the landowners actually round up the multitude flocks of sheep that are scattered vigorously throughout these mountain slopes. Probably our four-legged friend, man's best friend, the dog, contributes greatly and massively to the effort, as I suppose do the four-wheel drive quads. But it's a vast area, and trying to round up sheep in inclement weather would be quite a task up here. And the weather up here can be rather vicious and ass-biting at the same time. I've come up here to the summit of Galtee Mountain, and I think over the years on 3 occasions. And on 2 of those occasions, I had quite a fall of snow to contend with. But when I got up onto the slope of Galtee Bog and then made my way across to get onto Galtee Moor, the snowdrift was pretty deep and quite difficult, but I managed to get to the top. But as I've always said, going up can be hard, but coming down can be rather lethal and pretty dangerous. So you've got to take care on the way down from all slopes. Now, it's rather dull this morning so far, but there is a glimpse of blue sky popping up and around the dense cloud cover. So fingers crossed that as the morning progresses, we'll get a glimpse of sunshine and thus brighten the pictures for you. Of course, when you come up to places like these, any mountain in fact, in any great wilderness, you have to be conscious of the weather at all times, because it can change significantly in a very short time. So you want to make sure, if you lose your train of access and exit because of fog, that you have some idea how to get yourself back to familiar territory. Okay? Be aware of that. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. And now looking over here, there's an army of sheep ready to charge on this poor hiker at this hour of the morning. As you can see, they're formulating a plan of attack, but there's nobody brave enough to lead the charge. It's a bit like the Zulu movie. They're circling the wagons, but as yet I think they're going to leave me in peace, as I will with them. But see the atmospherics over there now? Oh, it's a magic place. For those that like nature, wilderness, hillsides, this is the place to satisfy your craving. Now you can find yourself pretty alone up here. You sure can. So if you're okay with that, trek on, my friends. Now the sheep charge, the charge of the light brigade or the charge of the white brigade in this case, they're heading across the trackway to the other side of the hill. I'll try and pick up that for you as I make my way up here. I've meandered off the track for the moment. I'll walk the grassy banks as opposed to walking the rocky pathway. Quite a lot of sheep here now, quite a lot. So I hope they're all peaceful and loving and like human beings. But I have no reason to believe otherwise. And here they go, and here they come. Some in front and some behind, making their way to greener pastures. Pardon the pun. Greener pastures. Isn't that a really beautiful scene? But like I said to you before on a few videos from these environs, I never want to return after being reincarnated as a woolly sheep. No. Anything else I think I might be able to accept, handle and put up with. But being a sheep on exposed mountains is not my forte. Enough of the nonsense. Now I gotta push into the hills. And the real hills haven't begun as yet. But I'm prepared, mentally and physically, for same. Sheep do all over the place. The backpack today is quite heavy. I put it on a scale before I left home this morning, and it's 47.3 kilos. Now, I'm commanding a vista here that's unequal to anything you get on lower slopes. The landscape here is just changing, affects every few minutes. Now I'm up on the grassy bank to get off the tortuous terrain underfoot on my right hand side. You have to cross stuff like this then, so it's a giant leap of faith. It's not hard going. It taxes the body okay with the equipment and the backpack and so forth, but you have to carry all that along as well. I'm still walking, doing all my walks, long and short, without the aid of walking sticks or poles. I hate the bloody things. I hate them. I think, well, in my opinion, they hinder my movement anyway. But I suppose in precarious terrain, they might aid your balance and stability. But as yet, I haven't been using them. Now looking down there at that terrain, that's pretty wild and rugged. And I might come back that way there through that valley that you see there. I might come back through there. At least this morning, and I'm quite high up now, I can still see the valleys and the lower slopes. But yesterday, and indeed the day before, you get about 10 meters of vision in front of you. No good for filming. Audio, yeah, but that's no good to you people. Like I said to you earlier, in a very short distance of time, you can have a dramatic change of weather. Now it's quite breezy, it's quite foggy, and it's quite cool. That fog now is quite dense, and it's become quite chilly here. And what I saw 15 minutes ago on the landscape is now becoming significantly obscured. Now, just thinking there as I walked along, the last big and high mountain that I trekked upon was 4 weeks ago, when I took on the summit of Europe's highest and most active volcano, Mount Etna in Sicily. And I thought that was one of the greatest climbs and walks that I did for a long time. So on that particular day, I actually trekked got to the base camp at 1,080 meters, and then I kept on trekking after that, and I got to 3,000 and I think 38 meters. I couldn't go anymore because you're not allowed to go any further. You're at the summit there, but you're near the funnel of the lava opening. So a volcanologist said, right, that's as far as you can go for safety reasons. Now that was the north face, whilst the east face is now active again. So I think they're expecting some sort of a murmur there sooner or later, various types of eruptions. But anyway, that's not for discussion here. So today, it brings back memories of trekking in the sunshine amongst the volcanoes. But nevertheless, as you can see right now, this is as spectacular without the fire, smoke, ash and smell. Now my distance of view is becoming restricted all the time. So I suppose as I head further north into the clouds, I won't be able to see my feet anymore. So we'll then have a look at that prospect. Trekking like this on rough, arduous terrain in the clouds gives the old body and the young body and everybody's body a great shake-up. It rids the cobwebs from a sleepy system. It gives you an appetite, makes you think clearly, it makes you happy. It frees your mind to enjoy and savor your surroundings like here. You never know unless you do it. Maybe for the last time, I recommend you take on the walking at a civilized pace. on flat landscape and work your way up literally. I love this walking. Maybe the government of Ireland in Kildare Street should consider having a parliamentary post, Minister for Walking and the Great Outdoors. I could put my name in the hat. Would I want that? Certainly not. Politicians and myself do not read off the same page for many reasons, but everybody to their own. Now, landscape pictures today will be rather dull and greyed out looking, and I'd say putting the bird in the air, and I have the two of them with me, I'd say it would also be out of the question for safety reasons. They're too expensive for them to have a wobble in the midst of a big fog, 300 feet in the air. So we'll reserve that possible intention until we get further into the clouds. Now, because it's a drifting fog, what you missed out in seeing a few moments or seconds ago now reveals itself, but in a blink of an eyelid it becomes obscured once again, as you can see. And then over here you have it travelling from County Waterford across Tipperary and into County Limerick, in memory of Airmen Timmy Byrne, Tom Gannon and Dick O'Reilly, founder members of Abbeyshrew Aero Club, County Longford, who lost their lives on these mountains on the 20th of September 76. Now, when you stand here in an exposed location like I am right now, and the breeze and the fog and the rain is belting into you, it's very easy to conjure up the idea that I'm all alone here. And that's very true on this occasion. And that might faze a lot of people. And it's a daunting situation to find yourself in. So you need to have a confidence that's understandably sensible. Don't take the chances. If you're not up for the task, ignore it. You'll live to enjoy and experience another day's outing. The conditions that are here right now are quite daunting. I don't mind being on my own. In fact, I think, I could be wrong, that I'm the only one up here on the slopes today. The weather is fine lower down on the valley, but up here it's a sort of crazy, windy, foggy situation now. But I'm not daunted by that. But if you are, and you don't like to walk alone, and you have this idea of safety in numbers in mind, stay away from walking high hills in weather like this. It's not worth the risk. Now, folks, landscape that I could see and enjoy the view for most of the morning on my way up here has now become enveloped and obscured by that dense, driving fog and mist that you see. In spite of the conditions that I'm videoing for you as I walk up the side of this great mountain, it's still a very special place. The conditions can be so different from moment to moment. You just have to play the game. which is what I'm doing right now. And then you have to meet stuff like this and make your way warily across. Be aware of a fall. A stupid fall on something so innocent underfoot can cause you a great deal of misfortune, distress, anxiety, pain, worry. All the accolades of not having a good day. I'm now looking forward to finding a sheltered cove, rock, bush, tree. Finding a tree and a cove and a bush up here is a tall expectation and rather silly. I'll just have to find my way behind a bunch of mountain heather and have a warm cup of beverage, which I'll be having very shortly. As you can see, I haven't put on the rain gear. I don't give in to the bloody rain because it becomes cumberful and you feel you're in a sauna. And I have enough to carry. One of my good wife's friends was talking to her recently about she can't get her husband or partner, whichever, to get up and get out for a walk and go out and do a few things together. And Kate said to her, "Gee, I have the opposite problem. I can't keep the bugger at home." I can only smile at the response that she got. Now, when you get to here, the Cairn of Stones, you have to make a conscious decision. So here, on your way up, you turn left and you head off into the clouds to the left, to your left. Now, unfortunately, I must take back what I said about I felt or thought that I was the only person on the hills this morning, bearing in mind the conditions that you see before you. But lo and behold, a few moments ago, just before I arrived at the Cairn of Stones, I encountered a young couple, hand in hand, having gone as far as they could and decided to call it a day. That was a wise call for them. Now, if you look around here and concentrate on the pictures before you, you can see you've got an almost whiteout. And this is where the uninitiated can become undone. This track that I'm standing on becomes confused in a person's head with a myriad of other tracks. And then, because you can't see the horizon anymore and your point of exit, you find yourself lost and bewildered and stressed and perhaps in trouble. When you reach the point that you feel, I think I'll turn back or I'll deviate, do it. I think that's the brain telling the body, it's time you quit, boy. It's not worth, don't take risks. Keep telling you that, do not take risks. You come to a junction like this, and you're standing here in a whiteout and you say, bloody hell, which way do I go? Now your GPS and so forth can show you the direction. And even if you were to go straight on there, which I am not going to do, I'm going to go to there, you'll still be putting kilometers onto your journey. So keep in mind and be aware of where you are, where you've come from, because you're going to need to get back down. On a fine sunny day, and the landscape of Tipperary and Limerick laid out before you majestically, perhaps it doesn't make a difference which way you go down, because you can see the valley before you, and if you follow your eyesight direction, it'll bring you down. You've pathways going that way, and if I pan around to my right hand side, you have a pathway going this way. Now I know the way. What about the poor souls that don't and find themselves enveloped by a fog like this? You can see there right now. Well, you can't see there right now. What you can see is the pathway disappearing into a whiteout. So from here on up, I think might be time to consider changing tack. Now, it's times like these that a hot beverage would certainly nourish and refresh the body. And if I can find a place that can shelter me from this driving wind and rain, I'll sit down and break open the thermos and indulge in a hot cup of tea. So I'm going to get up here another little bit and see can I find such refuge. It's pretty scarce up here. No boulders, trees, bushes, rocks to shelter behind. On the summit, of course you'd have it. But I hadn't intended to go to the summit today, to be quite honest, I hadn't. But even if I had, I would have had to change tack long before now. This is the kind of terrain now that can certainly give an unwelcome injury to your ankle, hip or knee. So for goodness sake, be careful out there. Be careful. Oh, like I said, the good tires underfoot, whatever they cost you, will be well worth the expenditure. Support on the ankles, the shins, and underfoot is what it's all about. And there is a real true reason why I don't want to be reincarnated as a four-legged woolly creature. Imagine spending a day, a week, a month, or a season of winter up here in conditions like this. Can you imagine here wind and rain and snow? The shelter is minimum and it's blowing across there from the east. And the whiteout continues. Now I'm just paused up here for a moment, doing a recce as to finding a spot to sit out of the breeze, wind and mist. But because it's blowing in from behind me, it's blowing into the face of those little bits of shelter there. So I'm going to have to maybe go up in here, but the ground is awfully wet. You can see there on the cutout from in the peat surface, the water penetrates right down, and you can see the amount of water that comes down here is phenomenal. This is a hostile place now. This is not a place that you would want to find yourself disorientated can happen quite easily here. So I'm going to continue my search for a perch to have my lunch, as I think I certainly need it now. It's now quite overwhelming as regards fog and rain, and visibility is down to 20-25 meters. So there's no point in going on further and getting soaked wet, and the ground underfoot here is, as you can see, it's completely and utterly saturated, and it's not ground for walking upon, and the mud is just overpowering now. So it's gone beyond good quality walking boots. It's some sort of gum boots or Wellington. You can see there it's pretty bad now. So at this point in time, I'm going to call it a day on this leg of the mountain. The ground underfoot now is virtually impossible to walk on without sinking right down. It's pretty dismal now. Were I to go on, and I'd be at my summit, I suppose, within 30 minutes from where I am right now, but I'm not going to head on into pea soup, which has wrapped itself around the landscape, including me, as you can see. When you walk in weather like this, and it's deteriorated now to the point where it's not enjoyable anymore, or indeed comfortable, and then you have the safety aspect of it. It's time to call a stop to your advanced progress. What's crept in the last 15-20 minutes or thereabouts has been a significant wind chill factor. And I guess this will be prevalent until I get my backside down to a lower altitude. Well, okay, folks, I've come down off the high peaks because the rain came and the fog got a lot more dense. So I come down a different way. It's equally rough underfoot, and the rain is getting heavier, and I'm going to have to put on the wet gear very shortly because it's beginning to get me wet now. So 2 hours and 20 minutes of a hike in not the best conditions, but nevertheless atmospheric. No point in sitting at home waiting for weather in the Emerald Isle to encourage you and get you out walking. You'll be looking through the window for a long time before you get a good dry day that you think is a good day for walking or getting out. So forget about that. Make the decision and don the boots and the coats and the whatever and get out into the great outdoors. So from a rather damp and misty landscape this morning, thank you for tagging along and take care of yourselves. Okay, and I'll chat to you in another video. Thank you for all your shares, for your comments, your likes. It's greatly appreciated. So from the slopes of the Galtee Mountains on a very atmospheric, foggy, windy and wet morning, take care. Bye bye.